Hello everyone and welcome to a review for what I call Hygge, but is apparently pronounced Hygge, H-O-O-G-A-H. Yes, apparently that's how that is supposed to be pronounced, but either way, this is a re-implementation, or at least a re-theming of a Sashi and Sashi game, which was When the Guests Arrive. In this case, you have animals effectively trying to get different items and sort of almost get them ready for winter and sort of save them as points, rather than tidying up a house. But let's go roughly through how the game plays, and then I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on it. I should say this was provided to me by Helvetiq at Spiel for the review. At the beginning of the game, depending on your player count, you'll find the matching player count card, and that's going to tell you how you're going to be setting up the market of cards. Basically, well, at the start of the game, but also throughout when the market needs to be refreshed. Put that off to one side because it's going to be a nice visual reminder for when you're building that market. Then, with the shuffled deck, you will be turning that number of cards over into that particular pattern. One card in the deck looks a little bit different, and that is the Game of Thrones-like card, Winter is Coming. This gets shuffled into a few cards at the bottom of the deck, so you don't quite know when the end of the game will come, but when this arrives, the game finishes. When it's your turn, you'll take all of the cards from a row or column. Now, even if there's a gap in the middle, you'll still be taking that entire row or column, and the maximum number of cards you'll get from this is 3, the minimum is 1. The cards are a range of colours, but effectively you're aiming to get an animal with paw prints and then some items, hopefully of the same type and at least the same colour. Now, once you've taken cards, optionally you can decide to take one of your animals and some or one of your items and score it effectively. You'll do all the scoring at the end of the game though. So for instance, this red hedgehog has 2 paw prints. That means it can hold not just 2 items, but 2 types of items. So these are 2 matching bugs, beetle things. So that's only one of his paw prints. If I then had a different red item, I could also put it with the hedgehog and put them all in my scoring pile. Remember, you can only do that once per turn, even if you've got multiple animals, and it is an optional step. You don't have to do that. At this point, you check if there's 3 or less cards in the market. If there are, you shuffle them up to the 1, 2 and 3 spots as much as you can, then you refill the market. And if that happens on your turn, you get to go again. Normally, this is because you've probably only taken 1 or 2 cards because of the way the rows have reduced, but not always. You can sometimes time it right, take 3 cards from this row that's somehow unaffected, and then have another go. As I alluded to, the game ends when that sort of frost symbol, that Winter is Coming card, comes out of the deck as you're refilling the market. Now at this point, everyone gets one sort of kind of turn. You can either discard any card that's left in your hand, or you can put one animal, and then with some items, if it can, into your scoring pile. And you have to have at least one matching item of colour to be able to do that. You can't just put an empty-handed animal into your scoring pile. Now, why are you doing this? Well, cards in your scoring pile, they're going to score you points. The animals don't get you anything, but all of the items have sort of these point symbols on them, and you count them up as points. However, for every item card left in your hand, you lose a point, and for every paw print on animals left in your hand, you'll lose a point. And once you've determined how much you've actually got, you compare with the other players and you see who has won. So it's a fairly simple, almost set collection style game, and let's start on the market cards. First of all, a really handy reminder. You're not diving back into the rulebook because you put this right sort of in the middle of the table and you can straight away see this is how you've got to build the market. Now, what you will notice, like I said, there's one for each player count, and that does mean the shape of that market does change. Now be really careful when you're playing as two and then someone else or a couple of other people join you. Make sure you do change the card out, because it does quite drastically change the number of cards available. Effectively, that market refresh sort of happens about the same number of turns between them, but you've got more cards because there's more players taking for the 4-player one. Having to take cards every turn is great near the beginning of the game. You're getting a huge hand of stuff and some animals, hopefully, to be able to eventually score them. You've got the sort of, oh, I've already got these red beetles or this sort of headphone symbol. I could go and get some more of those and then bank them all in one go and save them as points. However, the further you go through the game, first of all, you're like, I've got a load of green cards and I don't have an animal that can save some points for a green item. And then it's like, one comes out in the market, you have to take it along with other things probably. And as this deck goes down towards the end, you're really starting to realise I need to get rid of as many cards as I can. So there's a really good transitional point that you have to work out where it is. At the beginning of the game, I want to grab as many cards as I can, build up a number of sets, but at some point you need to be taking that optional choice on your turn of banking an animal. You don't necessarily want to do it at the start of the game because, oh, I've got this yellow animal and this yellow card. That's great, I could bank that. But if I could get just another one of those yellow items, well, it just feels like a better opportunity, a better scoring. And maybe later on, even though you'd banked that animal, you've picked another one up and now I can't score it. And if only I'd held on to that animal for a few more turns, it would have been okay. So that's a really cool choice, and it does change throughout the game. And when you sort of make that decision to, I'm going to get rid of some of these cards now, I'm not going to try and pick too much more up, that's a cool sort of aspect of the game where you just need to make a decision, and it might be right, it might be wrong, and if it's wrong, you'll be left with a number of negative points. Can you get them all down before the end of the game? And there's bits that you can do to sort of increase your odds. Towards the end of the game, try and make it so you're only taking one card from the market rather than that option of 3, so it doesn't trigger the market to refresh and maybe that card coming out of the deck. Then, when the market's being refilled, you're sort of looking out of one eye. Oh, it's not there, I've still got this round. Or, oh no, it's come out and I've got these cards in my hand. It's all about sort of timing it right and sort of pushing your luck just to get that extra point or extra few points, because some of the cards are like 4 or 5 points. Get one of those and that can be a big swing if you've banked it in time. Now, one thing about this has to be that it's been a re-theme of a game from Sashi and Sashi. So what do I actually think of the new theme versus the old one? While I've not played the game, from the rule books they do seem to play identically. There might be a slight different balance of colours or something in the deck, but it does seem to play exactly the same. I do like this sort of very family-friendly, animal-themed cuteness. I don't know if it makes any more sense, you know, them collecting these items to hibernate almost. Potentially that's what they're doing in this. It doesn't necessarily make any more sense than you cleaning up a house and, you know, maybe the mum carrying a stack full of one type of item because she can carry as many of the same item but then only one. Even the theming wise, neither of them make 100% sense, but it is that little rule of it's 2 paw prints or 1 paw print, you can have one type of that colour item that really makes the game. And it doesn't necessarily make sense more or less in either theme. Neither theme are offensive though, and you know, the fact this is probably going to be more readily available, well, as long as the themes are catching your eye, that's all good. Personally, I've enjoyed this game most at 2-player, and that's because the market doesn't change quite as drastically between turn to turn. So you can have your eye on one thing and pick something else up and still hope that it's going to be there. I found more commonly when there's more players around the table, the things that you're looking at get taken just that bit more. It also feels like you can kind of pay attention at 2 players. Some people won't like this, but I really like the idea of, alright, I know that you've been picking up a load of red, so if I can get the only animal of the market that's got red paw prints, well, that may be going to, you're going to suffer for that. Maybe I can't get rid of it though, so it gives you just some extra options, and I find at 2-player I can keep track of that. With more players it starts to become slightly harder to work out what people are going for. Like I said, I prefer it because of that. Some people though will like the sort of more friendly, I'm not caring what you're doing, but I'm taking from the market for my own good. So people will like it at different player counts. Just for me, at 2, when you can see and work out what someone else might want, that really sort of knocks the game upwards for me. So overall, I've really enjoyed the game. If you've noticed, I've been trying not to say the name because I just refer to it automatically when I look at the box as Hygge, but in the rulebook it does say HOO-GAH, so Hygge? I don't know, but it's a fun sort of game. I really enjoy the sort of the very laid back, chilled, taking rows and columns, hoping to score some later on, trying to sort of kind of set collect in terms of, oh, I've got a number of these symbols, I can get some more and then bank them all at once. I really do like that. Like I said, I personally liked it at 2 when you can track what the other player's going for a little bit more, but you might not. You might enjoy it when it's not quite so, I'm going to try and block you almost on the other player's turns. And yeah, whether this is needing to have been rethemed, I don't know, but I'm still very glad that I've been able to play it. And, well, that is Hygge, not quite sure, but I've enjoyed it. Let me know if you've played the game, be that before it was rethemed or not, in the comment section below, and have a very good The Winter is Coming great day.